Welcome to Sex on the Floor podcast. This podcast was created to help educate the public about problems with sex and intimacy and how this is tied to both physical and mental aspects. Hosted by myself, Dr. Molly Hart, a passionate pelvic floor physical therapist and owner of Pelvic Balance Physical Therapy, and by Dr. Katie Schubert, a phenomenal sex therapist and owner of Cypress Wellness Center. We are here to have a good time. We're here to keep it real with you all and to educate along the way. I'm so excited for you to join us. We strive to help many relationships prosper in fun, safe, and healthy intimacy. While listening to the show, please remember that this information is not meant to diagnose or treat any medical conditions. Please speak with your medical provider for all things related to your healthcare.
Welcome back to Sex on the Floor. We're here today to talk about mindful female masturbation. In the last episode, we spent a while talking about male masturbation and how to appropriately masturbate if you're a male. And now we're going to talk more about the females and how females can enhance their relationship with masturbation.
Yeah, I'm super excited about today because there is such a lack of understanding and awareness in this area for female self-pleasure. It's one thing I will say, I don't know why, it might just be my patient population. I have learned to stop saying the word masturbation because with my females, not with my males. Males masturbation works great, but for my females, they cringe when I say that word because there's such a dirtiness in society around it. So I'm like, okay, let's just call it self-pleasure. Have you found that at all with your females or no?
Maybe. I try to really normalize words though when I see couples. So, even if, when I say the words penis or vulva, my clients will get bright red faces. It's an indicator for me to say it more.
Okay. That's actually really good.
Yeah.
I probably should start doing that. I know I don't want to make this uncomfortable for you to talk about, but we need to dive in and talk about this. It's so important. All right. So Dr. Katie is going to go into when she's working with couples, working with females by themselves, how to discuss mindful masturbation, the importance of it, and so forth. So really excited.
Yeah. So a big part of my discussion about masturbation usually involves psychoeducation, because as you said, we're just not taught about self-pleasure. We're not taught about masturbation. We're not taught about bodily organs or what they do. And a lot of women are really uncomfortable exploring. They're uncomfortable touching themselves. They're fairly uncomfortable with pretty much all parts of their sexuality. Yeah. So I spent some time talking about the clitoris and what the role of the clitoris is. I talk about sex toys a lot. I would say the majority of my women that I see in my office are unfamiliar and or uncomfortable with sex toys. So I spend some time talking about sex toys and what those look like, what they feel like, what they're good for, what they're not good for. I talk a lot about lube and what kinds of lubes are fantastic and what kinds maybe aren't as fantastic. Because even, during masturbation, it's important for women to have a good lubricant.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. You experience that as well?
100%. Yeah. We talk about that.
Yeah. I'm just curious, what do you tell your female clients about lube?
So I have two lubricants that I use specifically. So I've got something called Slippery Stuff, which is phenomenal. It's a water-based lubricant. It's paraben, glycerin-free. So many women are using KY. I'm not a proponent for KY because it dries the tissues out actually as we're experiencing intimacy. And then some lubricants become clumpy. And so we just want it to be something that's going to work well. So Slippery Stuff, most pelvic floor PTs use Slippery Stuff. It's very inexpensive, phenomenal. So they all get a bottle of that with their plan of care. And then I also use the revagination, which I had just talked about last time because I was getting a delivery. So the revagination is my favorite thing in the entire world personally. Like after Kim, the acupuncturist who makes it, after she introduced me to that, that's all I like to use at this point now. Because slippery stuff's a great lubricant. It's really good to decrease friction. And so if there's any dryness, it's wonderful. But the revagination, it's got CBD, arnica, and then a bunch of different natural-based oils in it. And so it's an oil-based lubricant. And it has this really calming effect to it and almost a sense of a warmness, but not warm like the his and hers KY type of chemical, like icy hot sensation. It's just this calm warmness. And so it just feels, I don't know how to describe it. It just has such a safe, comforting feel to it. So I love using that with masturbation and especially with intercourse. I found a great benefit. So I educate them on the two and let them kind of figure out what they want to use with their partner. Yeah.
I tend to promote the oil-based lubes.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, water-based are fantastic, but a lot of times, women are coming in and saying that sex hurts or that, it's okay in the very beginning and then the lube dries out. And as we all know, water-based lubes tend to dry out a little bit more quickly. So I talk about, the oil-based lubes a little bit more, especially, sex therapists use something called sensate focus. Okay. And they're massage dates that you do with your partner. They're more complicated than that. But, if couples can find an oil-based something or other, like coconut oil, that it's good for massages, then they can use it around the entire body, including the genitalia. And couples seem to really like that.
Coconut oil is so great. And what I love about coconut oil too is then for foreplay, if there's anything going on in that department, as far as like eating out or head, then wonderful. Because we have coconut oil. It tastes good too. Yep. So coconut oil is a hands down my favorite that I will recommend they use. What type of coconut oil? Do you have a preference? You tell them organic or anything, or you just kind of leave it open?
I tell them to go to Trader Joe's and get the organic coconut oil.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Yeah, and I'm like, put it in like a little cute jar that you like, and just keep it by the bedside. Okay. Great. All right. So you can go over lubricant with them. What are some other things?
I talk a lot about sex toys. Yes. A lot of women just don't have good experiences with sex toys, or they're afraid to try them, or they're afraid to order them or go into a store to buy them. So I talk about the sex toys that women can use during intercourse.
Okay.
Where there's like a little bullet that sits on your clitoris and you can control it, the big cord that attaches to it. I talk about the different kinds of vibrators. I talk about dildos. Oh my gosh! Now there are so many different things out.
There's so many different types. So do you so one thing I was just exploring this with one of my patients is, there's vibrators specifically for just clitoral stimulation.
Yeah.
External stimulation, because the clitoris is huge. Actually, a lot of people just think it's like that one little piece, but like the clitoris is actually quite larger than we realize. Yeah. So there's like external stimulation, and then there's internal stimulation with the vibrator, and then you can have both, right? Yeah. So, and then there's ones that are specific that you can use with intercourse. So do you kind of go over those different types and the ways that they should use them?
I do. Yeah. If it's a newbie, if she's never used a sex toy, I try not to ask her to go out and buy like a huge like dildo vibrator.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the exact same way.
Dating.
I just do this. Yeah, I'm like, let's just focus externally on the clitoral tissues.
Yeah. And so I'll ask her to go at like a little one, like the size of a lipstick container. Yeah. It's manageable. It's not scary looking. It's a good first toy to play around with. But again, I reinforce the idea that lube is often needed, even in that.
Okay, good. And it's 100% needed. I'm like, if you don't have anything, honestly too, I'm like, you can use your saliva. You can use anything and some women have good vaginal lubrication. So they don't even necessarily need anything beyond what's already happening down in the vaginal tissues. But That's great. So good. So we're both kind of on the same page with newbies using more of a bullet just for clitoris. Okay, I don't want to get into that yet. I want to stay focused. I'm so ADD. All right. So lubrication is something you're talking about. You're talking about toys.
Yeah.
Now, when you're working with them, talking about like that mindful masturbation, how are you then educating them to utilize this and what environment and so forth like that?
So women seem to have an easier time doing this than men for whatever reason, but and women seem to do a lot better when I ask them to carve out time in their schedule that's for self-care. Make the room or wherever she's masturbating a sexy environment. Well, it could be in the bathtub, it could be in her bed. It could be anywhere where she feels comfortable, and to kind of set the scene, set the stage, and really just kind of sink into the activity and enjoy it. And it seems like if women do that, they're more successful immediately than men. Men have more difficulties with the mindfulness masturbation than women do. And I'm sure it has to do with socialization. Everything has to do with socialization. And also,
you know what I would beg to differ a factor is with women that you're working with probably, and myself, they've never done this before. So here they come to learn about self-pleasure masturbation for the first time in my opinion, a much more beautiful way to learn about it. Like, hey, let's start off with this really calm environment, make sure that you're alone, make sure that, like I talk, environment's huge, talking about the stimuli that come from it. Whereas men, you have to do a lot of de-education because society has taught them to masturbate, you need to have this and porn and that and this. And so I can totally understand that you probably are going to take much longer because we have to uneducate and then re-educate.
Right. No, that's a really good point. Yeah. I totally see that.
Okay. So you tell them to do this thing, so most of them follow suit pretty well.
Yeah. Especially if their partner's on board. If their partner's on board, they tend to feel better about doing it. And they feel even better about doing it when I tell them that it's assigned homework. If I say, you have, this is your homework, you have to do this. This will make things easier. This will make things better. And when I give her that freedom, she feels less shame about it usually. And she's more willing to engage and enjoy it.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. As far as, do you talk to them about like what they need to be focusing on? Where's the mind focusing while they're doing this activity?
Yeah. So same as men, just on the sensations of the masturbation. Another good reason why lube is nice is it provides more sensation. You can experience, more of the tactile sensations with lube presence.
Yeah.
So yeah, just on the activity, on what's happening inside of her body, on what she's feeling, if she's in the bathtub, what the water feels like, just staying out of her head and being in her body.
Yeah. And it's really, it's a form of meditation. To me, To me, masturbation is the best type of meditation around.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm biased, but it's just like, it's a time when, okay, so what do we say to do for meditation? We say kind of go to a quiet spot, just like a guided meditation. Go to a quiet spot, lay down, put your soft headphones on, listen to the guided meditation. So masturbation to me is the exact same thing, except it's a physical experience that we're having with our body that feels amazing versus just calming down and listening to somebody. It's like times 100 of feeling amazing. So I like to always educate them. This is a time for yourself. This is a time to be in a meditative state. And it is a time too, because a lot of the women I'm working with, I don't know what your patient population is like, but most women I work with who have pelvic floor pain, they are very type A personality and they do not know how to turn their mind not off. I don't think we can ever really turn the mind off per se, but they don't know how to calm the mind. And so the mind is thinking about 500 different things that need to get done, this and that, and this and that. And so they're coming in, they're not having intercourse with their husbands. because it's painful. But then when I start talking about the relationship, them and their husbands very rarely even spend quality, quiet time together. There's always stuff going on. So I'm like, okay, you are not having a great time with intercourse because of the pain, but also there's probably not any time ever being carved out to just dedicate to being with your partner in this way, let alone even intimate. That's 10 steps higher than just being alone and quiet with your partner. So getting them to first, what I have them do, not even sexually at all, not even masturbating, is just having time to themselves and forcing them to, at the end of the day, every day, make sure they have a certain set time where they're done for the day. We need to prioritize getting that parasympathetic nervous system state, because they're always in sympathetic overdrive. So sympathetic system is where we go, 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 go. And parasympathetic systems where we rest and digest. And we need to be in that system to heal from chronic pain and to allow the body to not get back in that state. So I'm trying my hardest with them, regardless of intimacy, is how do we build in time for you to be in a parasympathetic state during the day? Because they don't have any of that. And so then once we get that habit built, then it's like, okay, now how do we turn these habits you have now into more of a self-pleasure aspect? And then once that's underway, I found it's been much easier for them to then take time to actually spend with their partner to do the same thing.
No, that's a great point.
Do you experience though that your patients are kind of living in this hypersympathetic state all the time, or not necessarily?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of, especially moms, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no rest. There's no rest for moms.
Yep.
Moms go through their days, they work, they work. A lot of moms work. They come home and then they have little humans that need them. And then they finally get to go and rest. And now they have a big human that needs them. So it's constant. And a lot of the women that I work with don't carve out time for self-care. They don't have very good boundaries, because boundaries aren't always realistic for busy people. For busy people, it's hard to maintain those boundaries. So your point is fantastic.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it is a boundaries thing. I think it's boundaries, and it's also it's also a prioritization. So what is being prioritized? And often we are prioritizing things at a higher level compared to other stuff and it needs to be reversed. And so I think helping women to understand how important it is to prioritize yourself, to prioritize time alone, to prioritize your sexuality, so masturbation, and then super important that we prioritize time with our partner, because they cannot, no relationship ever. I had a coach one time say to me, he was talking about money, totally off topic, but he said, if you don't care about any relationship, you don't put time into it, he goes, what's going to happen to the relationship? Well, of course it's going to suffer. And so a lot of people say, I don't care about money. That's what he was talking about. He's like, well, you can't not care about money, because then you're not going to have any money. But he's like, if you take that same principle though, if you don't care about spending time, quality time with your husband, you can't, or your partner, you can't expect that relationship is going to be safe and wonderful and comforting and everything you want it to be. You have to put that time into it. And that's a big factor. As women, we do not put time into that area of life, sexuality.
Yeah.
So why do you think we don't prioritize that?
Because there's so many other things. Right? There's, like I said, there's kids in the picture a lot of the times. There's partners in the pictures. There's work in the picture. There's literally all of the studies that have been done on heterosexual couples and housework and childcare. Women spend double the amount of time that men spend on pretty much all activities having to do with household stuff and childcare. Yep. So, there's this very obvious second shift happening for women. And by the time they're done with that second shift at home, they're done.
Yeah, they're tired.
Yeah, there's no sex drive, right? There's no desire to be sexual with herself or with anybody else.
Yeah, there's no energy left. There's nothing left in the tank.
Yeah.
So how do you work with women in that situation, the mom who's working full time, whose husband isn't very helpful with household tasks, and she is just so overwhelmed and busy? To me, it's like, how can we add in anything more on her plate?
So oftentimes with those sorts of heterosexual couples, what I'll have them do is write out like a task list. And so they can both see what they're doing at home to contribute. Because just like all of the studies that I just mentioned, there's been a lot of studies done recently about happy marriages, happy relationships. And it turns out that the relationships where the man and the woman in that relationship are equal participants in childcare and housework, those marriages are the ones that last longer, and they're also the most satisfying marriages.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell my couples. I say, if you want a long marriage, if you want a marriage where you're happy and satisfied, then we need to make things more equal. Yep. And as soon as we get that balance equal, the sex comes back, because there's no resentment, there's no animosity. She's not exhausted anymore. He's not taking it all for granted and not thinking about what she's doing. So that's a big, see, we're talking about female masturbation, but what it's really turned into is a discussion about equality in relationships.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens in my sessions too.
Yeah. Because it's like, where are they going to have time to do this? So I love exactly, like, oh my gosh, everything you said is completely spot on. And I 100% agree. I have that conversation with my patients all the time of the task list. Yeah. My husband and I have had multiple conversations where I have written out all of the tasks, every little baby task too, the smallest little things, filling the water bowl for the dog, feeding the cat, like doing the cat litter. I mean, every little thing. And then figuring out who's responsible for that. And what I found too, I don't know if, we probably shouldn't get too off topic with this, but I have found that with men and women, when we can really take responsibility in the partnership, marriage is a partnership, and any relationship should be a partnership, hopefully. If you have assigned roles and tasks, it makes everything work smoothly. Just like I tell them, I'm like, same thing with any business that you're a part of. If you're a part of a business, or you're going to all have certain tasks that you're responsible for. And that's what allows the business to grow and to flourish. Now, if we had a business and one person's trying to do everything and other people are slacking and not helping, is the business going to do well? No. And a marriage is a partnership that we want, hopefully, to do well and to flourish. And that task list is so huge. I definitely get some resistance from my females with the task list because they said their husbands will not go for it.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's when I'm like, you need to go to Katie. This is too much. I don't have time for this, but you guys need serious counseling if this is not appropriate, if this is not doable. Okay. So for the mindful masturbation, you are helping them to figure out what their daily, weekly routines, when they can even fit this in.
Yes. Yeah. And it often goes hand in hand with just a more open dialogue about boundaries around self-care.
Okay, great. And once you have those talks, you're finding most of your females you work with are able to carve in this time and make this more of a habit.
Yeah. So the interesting thing here is that, when couples or individuals come into me, they're obviously their primary complaint is about something sexual, because I'm a sex therapist, but it's never that easy, right? It's never, like I tell them, like I've said this so many times, it's never about the sex. It's never about the sex. It's always about something else. So usually before I can even get to a discussion about what mindfulness masturbation would look like for her and have that be successful, I have to tackle all of the things that we just discussed, because she doesn't have time for it. She's exhausted. She's feeling resentful. Her desire for sex isn't there because she has, a million things on her plate.
Yeah.
So usually I have to tackle those things before I can even discuss, masturbation or sex.
Yeah, no, I love that. I can, that's wonderful to know. Is like, this is not, mindful masturbation is not something that we tackle right away. Whereas with men, you probably can tackle that a little bit sooner, I would assume.
Yeah, I can.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Because they are carving time out for it. That's a part of their weekly routine, right?
It seems like it. Yeah. Yeah. Whereas women, if they have other stuff going on in their lives, they're less inclined to carve out time for masturbation.
What is, for mindful masturbation with women, do you give any recommendations for like how often you would like them to partake in this, or how long you want each session to go?
I do that with men. I don't do that with women because
Okay.
I don't want to put more pressure on her to adhere to rules or guidelines, or feel like she's not doing something that she should be doing, or feel like she's doing something that she shouldn't be doing. So I try not to. I just say, carve out some time, carve out time for self-care, carve out time for masturbation, and try not to feel guilty about it.
Yeah, good. Okay. And do you educate at all on how much longer it takes females to have an orgasm compared to males, and to not have these expectations that it's going to be this like quick wham and bam thing?
Yeah. So the funny thing is that a lot of, I do understand that it takes women a little bit longer to orgasm if that's if she can.
If it's even the goal. Yeah.
If that's even the goal. But it seems like with partnered sex, we see more difference in how long it takes males and females to orgasm, because I think that women have more feelings about partnered sex. They feel maybe more shame about it, more ickiness about it, more pressure, or sex is geared more towards his pleasure than her pleasure. So usually when women carve out time for self-care and masturbation, they don't necessarily experience as much difficulty orgasming than if she were to be having partnered sex.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely because of all the factors.
With the man, I should say this too. With the man, the lesbians that I see, they're fine.
I know. No, and there's been studies on that lesbian couples do a phenomenal job at pleasing each other, and but I mean, rightfully so. It's two women together; they understand each other's bodies, and we don't have we don't have all the cultural societal things that happens with sexuality with men. So sad, but it is what it is. Okay. So any other things you want to add in for female mindful masturbation?
Not that I can think of at the moment. I think I threw in everything that was on the top of my mind about masturbation. How about you?
So one thing I like to show them. Do you ever show them a picture of the clitoris at all? Do you use it? Oh, I gotta give you some great pictures.
I want one of those like clitoris puppets or those vulva puppets. Have you seen those?
Oh, yes. I need to get one of those too. That's so
the velvet one.
So I'm a part of this group called Pelvic Guru, and I love her group because she has an artist who draws these really awesome anatomy pictures that are for the pelvic health world.
Yeah.
There's this beautiful picture. Let me put it up on here. Let me show you on here. So this picture, so those of you who are actually watching on YouTube will be able to see this, but she comes up with these great anatomy pictures that I love to utilize and teach women. So what I'll do is I bring this picture up to show the women I'm working with what the clitoris actually looks like, because, and just even do an anatomy lesson 101, because so many women, some women I treat do not even understand where the urethra is at, the opening of the urethra, what are all the anatomy pieces. So I use a mirror and will show them only if they ask or want that. Some of them are like, no, I know that area well, not an issue. And then some I say, hey, do you really have an understanding of the clitoral tissues, of the hood that goes over the clitoris, where the urethra is at, and so forth, and the name of all of these different tissues? Do you know what the labia minora is and the labia majora? And start to normalize their understanding of their anatomy and the way that their tissues look, because the labia minora, those are our inner lips. Those are so different on every woman. And they find that most women they get their understanding of the vagina and the vulvar tissues and the vestibular tissues based on porn or like whatever it is that they're able to look at a picture, which is so unrealistic. Yeah. So when you actually look at multiple different vaginas, they're so different looking. The labia majora, the big outer lips, they can be all different sizes in how fat they are and like how plump they are. And then the labia minora, they can be really short and not barely even in existence, or they can be really long and protrude past the labia majora. And so getting them to understand their anatomy, I think, is super important. So I also think that takes away the ickiness from it, because I'm like, hey, let's look at this from an anatomy perspective, and like you're going to become your own little scientist. Yeah. And then so I love showing them this clitoral picture, and then we go over that. So let me get this up and share the screen so you guys can see this. Okay. So this is the little diagram I go over with them. And so what I'll teach them with their little bullet that I hope that they get, if they don't already have one, is that I go, I don't want you to just stimulate this gland right here, the glans clitoris, like most people focus on. And the prepuce or the hood, I go, is unbelievably sensitive and has so much nerve endings in it. So I'm like, it's really important to start here and then even go up on the shaft and talk about how to actually move the bullet using the lubricant, so that way they've got lots of mobility. And then we talk about how it wraps down here and so forth. So this is kind of following along that labia majora, right? So here's our labia minora, these little waves right here. And so we actually go past those little, first off, the inside of the labia minora is extremely sensitive and wonderful to stimulate as well. But if we go past that and even work on the labia majora, those bigger lips, we're still able to stimulate these outer parts of the clitoris. So this is what we call like the corpus cavernosum, which is, by the way, very similar to the penis anatomy. If you actually look at the penile anatomy, it's crazy how, I mean, It's not crazy. It makes sense that they're very similar looking. So I'm going to stop sharing this. You're able to see that, Katie?
Yeah, that was a great picture.
Okay, so I like to, when they are using it, is just tell them to play around with how it feels different on different areas of their clitoral tissues. And so how does it feel when it's at the glands? How does it feel when you're just working on the hood? How does it feel if you lift the hood up? You use your hand, you kind of lift that up and then work on the shaft kind of the clitoris. If you go down, and then so to play around with those different sensations, and then if the goal is to have an orgasm, maybe try to achieve an orgasm working on different areas of those clitoral tissues. So those are just some fun little things that I'll add in. And that, of course, depends, on how open they are to talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to make anybody too uncomfortable.
Yeah. So it depends on the level of where the female's at, like you had said earlier, on how advanced we would get with talking about different mindful masturbation type things.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. Anything else? Or you think we hit this topic pretty well?
I think we did. And as usual, if any of our listeners have questions, please feel free to send them in. Our emails pop up at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. At the very end, you'll hear all of the emails. So send us questions if you have any questions on this episode, or if you have thoughts on a topic that you think would be wonderful for us to cover. Yeah. Bye, guys. Thank you for listening. We are Dr. Molly Hart and Dr. Katie Schubert, and you've been listening to Sex on the Floor podcast. We really hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions and want to get in contact with us, you can follow us on Instagram at Dr. Molly Hart and at Dr. Katie Schubert, on Facebook at Pelvic Balance PT and at Dr. Katie Schubert. And for more information about us on our websites, you can find us at pelvicbalancept.com and at drkatieschubert.com.